I've got Emma Jane with me, who is my niece. Emma Jane's been self-isolating with me. Emma Jane has virgin hair, and she's always nagged, can I have a bit of colour? I'd love to have some colour in my hair, and I've always said no. I've always said, no, keep your virgin hair, it's such a gorgeous natural colour. And then we went into a pandemic and a lockdown. And then we decided to do online education, and I had so many requests to see techniques and see some new products in action. And so I decided to talk to Emma Jane, which wasn't really that hard, actually, was it? It wasn't that hard. I literally mentioned having a little bit of colour in her hair, and she absolutely dived at the offer. So I in the beginning, I thought, you know, I wonder why she wants to self-isolate with me. I wonder, you know, she's obviously not going to be that bored in the house on her own. And now we're sort of into late February. I've suddenly realised why she wants to self-isolate with the hairdresser in the family. So today we're going to be talking about blacklight. Blacklight is our new lightener. It's a cream lightener, and it contains an active ingredient, charcoal. The charcoal in there helps with the removing of impurities, and it also helps with the toning. You've got that charcoal in there, which helps kill that undertone and really does give you a cool finish. I'm honestly telling you all that whenever I use this product, I was given this product just before Christmas, so I used it in the salon a few times, and every single time I've used it, I've been blown away. Every time I wash it off, I think, wow, I haven't used a toner, and I think everyone that follows me and everyone that watches my formulas and my work, I don't know what I'm going to do. I normally mix 20 grams of this with 30 grams of this with 5 grams of this with 2 grams of this, and now I'm going to be washing lightener off, and it's going to be icy white. I'm like, I'm going to need to think of some new formulas. I'm going to have to get my diary out, and I'm going to have to start jotting loads of new formulas down and start developing new ways. So one of my ambassador courses is called Ballet That Babe. And that course, I show 4 different balayaging, multi-tonal, face frame, dimension techniques. Now, I show 4. The main reason for showing 4 is because there is not one way to provide this look. Every client that sits in my chair, I look at it, I assess it completely different. Just 2 seconds, can you double check that we're not muted?
No,
yeah,
you're
we're
fine,
okay.
fine.
Yeah, I saw somebody saying that they couldn't hear, but that's obviously their end.
Yeah, no,
so,
you're fine.
When I sit my clients in the chair, I assess and I look to see what I feel I need. Do I need a foliage? If I need a foliage, then that's telling me I want saturation and I want really good incubation and lift. Do I want freehand? Am I looking for that dusty, really soft look? Am I looking for dimension? Is that client now too blonde? Has she been for so many services of balayage that I now need to add dimension back in? So the ambassador course that I offer, Ballet That Babe, is really interesting. And every time that I deliver it or I go about that course, it's always different. There's always something new to learn. But the biggest request that I have, and one of those 4 techniques, is for something simple. Something quick, something simple, something easy. I speak to so many people who have done balayage courses in the past, face framing, balayage, multi-tonal dimension. They're so complicated. There's so many different techniques and so many sectioning patterns that by the time you then get to the salon to deliver it, you've almost forgot everything that you need to do. So I wanted today to really simplify the technique, show something really easy that we can all do and that we can all remember, and that we can all personalize ourselves and adapt ourselves. So with Emma Jane today, Emma Jane is naturally around about a 6 natural beige. And that's her natural hair colour. She has a few natural tones, natural highlights throughout, but the bulk of Emma Jane's hair colour is a 6 natural beige. And Emma Jane being a virgin client, I wanted to create something soft, something that I can build on in the future. I'm causing a bit of a rod for my own back here. I'm adding more clients to my list. I'm letting her into a little secret now. This is why I've never wanted to offer her colour, because I didn't want to add her to my list of colour clients. So in a couple of weeks, she's going to be saying, what about my roots? I want more blonde. And then I'm going to be thinking, oh God, what have I started? So I want to create something really soft and really subtle. So today's technique that I'll show you will be really simple and effortless, but you can add more. You can add more in. You can really sort of personalize this to suit you. So I'm going to be mixing blacklight first, and before I go on to mixing blacklight, I'm going to quickly show you how simple this technique is. So I've split Emma Jane's hair into 2 sections. The front section, literally from the tip of the ear right the way up to the crown. And for anybody that's not Welsh, I said tip of the ear.
I was just about to say that is Welsh for ear.
Yeah, as I said it, I'm sectioning the hair from the tip of the ear. Year and year in Wales is all the same. But for you guys that are not Welsh, it's ear. I've been told. And then the back section, right down the middle. Pop your head down a minute, Emma Jane. Right down the middle. Literally really simple. So almost like doing a hot cross bun. You've got 4 sections if you were going to be doing this as a whole head.
And
but what I've done is, yesterday I coloured the 1/2 of Emma Jane's hair, because what I didn't want was, I didn't want to spend a whole 45 minutes to an hour with application and then we're all waiting around for development time and then the blow dry and then the styling. I wanted to show you a really quick, simple technique, and then I wanted to be able to drop the other side down and show you the result. So it's really quick and effective. So I'm going to start with blacklight, and I've got something really exciting to show you all. Now, we're all hairdressers. We all love a new toy. Now, with the launch of the new blacklight, Milkshake are following the trends, and we are looking at the techniques that are happening. We are looking at what's going to make our job easier, what's going to make our job more enjoyable. So we have launched 2 new tint brushes to go along with blacklight. The 2 tint brushes that we have, I'll show you first tint brush number 1. Now, tint brush number 1 is our detailer. Now, this is tint brush number 1, and it's our detailer. It's very, very fine, and it's 3 layers. So we've got a shorter white layer, an inner black softed, dusted layer, and then we have another short white layer. Now, this is amazing for those shorter, really nipped in details, really sort of dusted looks. It's such a gorgeous brush. I used it yesterday. It's really, really beautiful. Then we've got our brand new painter. And this is our brand new painter. So again, 2 lots of bristles either side. As you can literally see, 2 lots of brushes that press together, and it's so beautiful to use. It's such a soft brush, and this is going to be so good. It's almost like Milkshake head office in Italy read my platinum hints and tips and read the section where I talk about saturation. We're not going to have any problems at all with saturation with this new paster. So this is absolutely amazing. You can sort of see the size of this. It's really, it's like a paintbrush. It's absolutely amazing, but it's really thin. It's really super thin. It's so nice to hold in the hand. So for anybody that's not seen these yet, when you order Blacklight, you will get a set of the new tint brushes. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to mix Blacklight. My favourite mixing ratio that I have come about so far with Blacklight has to be 1 part Blacklight, 1.5 parts developer. And I'm weighing that out on my scales just because it's more accurate. And if I run out of product, I know I've got the same consistency if I need to apply more and I need to mix more. So I'm going to go ahead first and I'm going to mix Blacklight, and then I can show you all the consistency and I can show all of you what it looks like in the bowl. So I've got my Blacklight, put my scales on. It's such a lovely consistency. It's really creamy. So I'm going to be doing, for Emma Jane's hair, I'm going to be doing, say, 30 grams of Blacklight and 45 grams of 10 vol. I'm only using 10 vol because Emma Jane has virgin hair and my saturation is going to be heavy, so I know I'm going to get that lift. Isn't this typical? Why doesn't the lid ever want to screw on when you're doing a live mixing session? So back to 0 on my scales, and then I've got my 10 vol creative oxidizing emulsion, and I'm doing 45 mils. So when it comes to my colour, I always whisk. I much prefer whisking. I've got massive OCD for anybody that knows me. Anybody from Wales that's had me at the salon for training, they'll know, oh, here he goes. Here he goes with his OCD. I like a clean tint brush. I always have a spare bowl on the side just to pop my whisk into and just to pop my tint brush back into, because I think we'll all agree there's nothing worse than when you put that tint brush back in the bowl and where you've used the side of the tint bowl to take off any excess product, you then get product on your tint brush and it's on your hands. I much prefer a clean application. So I'm going to whisk up my product, and then I've always got a spare tint bowl on the side so I can put my whisk into that tint bowl and I can put my brush into that tint bowl, so that I'm only using this bowl with the Blacklight in. So it's like a charcoal grey. It's like a charcoal grey, and we've got the milkshake tint bowl, which I absolutely love. It's a really nice deep bowl. It's so awesome. I've whisked this now until it's a nice, the 1 to 1.5 works for me. And as I say to everyone, the power is in your product, not your developer. So don't over dilute it. Weigh it out. And obviously this is a cream, like none of the Decalogic range within our lighteners has the clay. So we don't get that swell, we don't get that change in product. So pop that in. So when it comes to a face frame, I like to work in 4s. So I start right in the corner, then I work right into the tip of the hairline. So when I'm starting right down in that corner, I like to work in 4s, and I like to sandwich my foiling techniques together. So I'm going to start with a tiny light, which is what I call a tiny light. It's even smaller than a baby light. It's really, really super, super fine. Because with Emma Jane, I don't want to root smudge her later. I don't want to add any base, smoothie or permanent. I want this technique to be so soft and so blended that you don't have to use a root smudge later, because not everybody is going to want that. And what I always say to everyone is your technique should be as perfect as it can be so that you don't have to root smudge after to blur out any lines and soften any blends. If your technique is perfect and you're subtle and soft with your application, you won't need to root smudge. And I'll show you that later on the other side of Emma Jane's hair, where I haven't root smudge. I haven't done anything. I've literally just washed off the foils, deep cleansed, colour specific, no silver shine, and blow dried. Really simple. So the 4 techniques that I sandwich together, I start with a tiny light right in the hairline. Then I go into what I call a chunky weave. Now that chunky weave, it's a very chunky weave, but still fine. You can still see the foil through the hair. Then I sandwich a micro slice because that's giving me the pop and that's giving me that real brightness. And then I finish off with a tiny light. So I've got my 2 tiny lights either side, and then inside I've got that pop, that brightness. So I'm going to start off in her hairline. So if you tilt your head that way, Emma Jane, and what I'll do is once I put that first foil in, I'll take off my phone from the stand and I'll bring it in so you can all see how fine that hair is. So I'm going to start off right on her hairline, literally really, really soft. Now, a little bit of a tip. If I've got one of my super blonde clients who really wants masses of impact, comes regular for an appointment and really wants that wow pop of colour in the front, then I do the hairline 2 different ways. On Emma Jane today, I'm going to be doing it a bit more softer so that the grow out is softer. But if I've got a client that is a blonde, wants it to be bold, really understands the fact that this is going to be something that needs to be maintained, then I'll do it the opposite way, and I'll show you that either way now in a second. So I'm going to take that hairline really soft, and when I'm taking that hair, you can literally see her face. You can see her skin through the hair. So I'm going to clip that up out the way. Now, if this was one of my super blonde clients, I would hold this hair back and I would weave. I almost draw onto the hairline. I almost use the tip of my tail comb and I draw, almost like a little swirl. So I'll do it the other way around so you guys can see it. So I almost draw onto that hairline and I pull out that section of hair. I would then pick up one of my foils so I can show you all. I would then pop my foil in and I would hold that backwards so that I've then got literally painting onto that skin level so close. You can get so close. They almost look like they're growing out of the hairline, really subtle. But Emma Jane's virgin hair, and I want it to be soft. I want it to be low maintenance. 1, Emma Jane, you're not hearing this, but I want it to be low maintenance because I want to make my life easier. And 2, Emma Jane's got virgin hair and I don't want to overload her hair with colour. I want this to complement her hair. So what I'm going to be doing on Emma Jane is I'm going to be doing, take that bit neck down, and I'm literally going to be, and one of my tips is that I always weave right at the hairline. I never weave lower down because you can't get that foiling super tight. So I'll take my section and I'll literally almost minuscule weave. Now it's so fine. You're going to pick that up and you're going to think, really? That am I really going to see that? But remember, this is her hairline. I want, when she puts her hair up, I want it to be super soft. So I'm going to pop my foil in. really nice and super tight into that hairline. Now, when I put that foil in on the hairline, I almost balance my finger onto her cheekbone so that I've got tension. I've got tension, I've got grip. And where my tail comb has almost created a little bit of a bump, I always tap that bump out, but only on the bit where there's hair. I leave a little bit of a bubble either side, and I tap that out, and that foil is literally into her hairline. And I'll take the phone off in a second once I've painted. So I'm using my new tint brush, and I'm literally using the tip of that tint brush, so the black area of that tint brush. I love the fact that they've given us the black tip on that, because you can see I'm using a small amount of colour. Yes, I am one of those people whose tint brush tends to look clean throughout, but that's just me. So never, ever, ever paste that lightener right in at the root area. I tend to go, you know, when you've got that ½ an inch where you fold the foil over the tail comb, I'll start there. So I'll paste that lightener there. Now, because I've pasted that, I've got real grip. I've got real grip there. So I've pasted that lightener there. And then what I do, before I saturate the rest of the hair, that brush is generally not saturated. I'm literally going to go in and just use the corner so that it's dusty. Because remember, I want this to be, oh, I knew that would happen. Lush. So remember, I want this to be dusty. I want this to be really soft. So once I've created that soft blend there at the hairline, I'm then going to pick this up really, really, really gently, so there's not a lot of tension, and that's when I'm going to saturate. I'm going to pick him up, and I'm going to saturate him. Now, I always fold the bottom of my foil first. I like to fold the bottom of that foil, because then when I pop my tail comb in and I flip him over, I'm not getting any colour onto my tail comb. And I'm literally going to fold in that corner, fold over this corner, and I'm not going to squeeze that foil. I'm not going to add lots of pressure to that foil, because I don't want to push any product out and I don't want to cause any tension. I literally want that to sit in really, really soft. And as I said earlier, if I wanted this to be more high maintenance and I wanted it to really, really, really sit into the hairline, then I would have done it the other way. I would have put that foil in and I would have lifted that hair and painted backwards. So I've started with my tiny light. Then I'm going to take my next section. Really simple. Really, really, really simple, really soft. Really fine again. Now this one's going to be what I call my chunky weave. So it's going to be ever so slightly more like a sort of a classic foil. More like a classic foil weave. In again. Right the way to saturate, and then I'm literally going to dust that into her hairline.
So Scott, just to clarify, the first one was a very fine weave.
Yeah, the first one was a tiny light, very, very, very fine. I'll show you this now as I get a little bit closer up, because the hair is so fine that you can't see it. So when I get a little bit further in, I'm going to show everyone those two as I get deeper into the hair structure, because her hair gets gradually darker where it's denser, so people will be able to see it a lot more visual.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. I've got some polls that I'd like to launch, Scott. Is that okay if I just do that quickly?
Yeah, 1 second. Let me just show this for the sandwich.
You tell me when I can.
Yeah, no worries. Once I literally start going into the middle section of that hair, then that's fine. There's my tiny light, there's my chunky weave. Now I'm going to go to my micro slice. Now, again, with my micro slice, it is super, super fine. Super, super, super fine. Almost like I always say to everyone, you can 100% see that foil through that hair. Pop him in, tap out the. And then again, I'm going to ever so slightly dust him. Now, before I saturate those ends, I'm going to pop this off. So this is my micro slice. I want you to see how fine this is. It's so fine, and I've just dusted it into the hairline. Now I'm going to saturate those ends. And again, fold over, because then I don't get any colour on my tint brush. Ever so slightly tap, and then fold. I don't like to really pat those foils down, because I want that colour to be able to breathe. And then I'm going to finish with that tiny light. And then I should be, when the way I've sort of timed this is whenever I do 4, it then comes right in line with the peak of her hairline. So what I'll do then, right the way down, and then I'll be able to put my tiny light in here and right into the front of the peak of her hairline. So I'll pick this section up, really, really, really super fine. Right in, and I love weaving right at the root, because you can literally lift that up and there's nothing there that's going to be able to get in the way. Tap him down. You can almost, you almost can't see any hair on this foil, but that's what I love, because that's going to be super subtle. Dusting just through that root area, and then saturate.
And Scott, with the consistency of blacklight, is it quite creamy? Would you say it's gritty? Because I know a lot of cream bleaches out there, they can be quite gritty when they're mixed. How are you finding it?
It's really, really, really soft. It's really soft. It's really creamy. There's no. It's almost. There's almost like an oily substance to it. It's really, really soft. There's no grittiness to it.
No, good. I mean,
now,
I
when
love
I'm doing
it.
that money piece, when I really want that to pop on the hairline, I always say to everybody, make sure that you pick out that point that's right on that hairline. Make sure that you really, really, really get that point in. Because that's what's going to create that pop of brightness in the front. Pop him in nice and tight to the hairline. Saturate. dust that with the corner. And these tint brushes, these new tint brushes, they literally make it like a joy. Ever so slightly dust him up a bit further. Fold him over. And in, so that my last packet of the sandwich was a tiny light right into her hairline. Then I'm going to take another section down, and that's going to be my chunky sort of weave. Any questions, Joe?
Sorry, I was muted then. I think Alex is answering them as we go. So someone's just said, can a higher developer be used? Again, this is down to, you know, we always say, don't we, Scott, slow and low and slow. So go in with a lower developer and you find you get a nicer, cleaner result and condition and everything. What's your view on, I mean, I know what you're going to say, but we often say
slow and slow. Like I always say to everybody, it's down to your sectioning. The finer the hair they take, the more lift you're going to get, the more you saturate the product, correct weighing of the product, that's going to give you the result. You know, the developer is merely going to give you sort of the speed, but that's not what, you know, we're not looking for that. I want, you know, with all of my blonde clients, I want the future of their hair colour to be flawless. I don't just want it to be great on that day. So low and slow. And yesterday I did this side of Emma Jane's hair with 10 vol, and within 30 minutes it was off. Yeah.
And Scott, you know, you're using foils there. You can use mesh, you can use foils, we can use, you know, with us in Italy, they use the stripes, don't they, and the foam wraps. So
yeah, you can use whatever anything. What I always say to everyone is this, you know, it's your personal opinion, it's your take on it, what you feel more comfortable using. It's totally and utterly up to you. And if I was to do, say, freehand, and I wanted to really, really, really saturate, and I wanted it more just surface painting, then I would probably use the stripes just to separate, just to incubate that colour. Yeah. That's probably what I would use. But for this, I like using the foil because I know I'm going to get that perfect lift. I tend to use foil when I want to incubate that colour. When I really want that good lift.
And with blacklight, so just to clarify, blacklight is a pre-lightener. It is a bleach, so it's going to give you 7 levels of lift. So it will give you up to 7 levels. You'll get a really clean white blonde, and you don't have to tone. So again, if you've joined any of our sessions before, yes, you can still use toners, and toners are really like fashion and personalization of a result. But with blacklight, because of the ingredient in it, which I'm not going to say right now because that is on one of the polls, but I'm sure you already know. But with the ingredient in it, what it will do is literally neutralize any warm tones in the hair. So it is fantastic to give it that excellent lift and deposit tone at the same time. You can use them in foils, stripes, mesh, wraps, freehand, and it can also be used as a global color as well. So you can apply it to the roots. That's what I have on my hair. So I do have it on. I've had blacklight now for a while since we've been trialing it, and that's what I have on my hair. So I'm naturally base 5'6", and I've got clean blonde hair. Okay, so yeah, sorry for that, Scott, but just wanted to add that bit in.
That's okay, no worries. So I'm literally going to do another foil on top of this section. So I'm now into my little micro slice. Once I've done that micro slice, I'm going to do a tiny light just so it's in line with my face frame the other side, because that's really important that your sides blend, you know, that money piece blends. Now, if somebody was coming to me and they wanted a real bold money piece right in the front, then there's nothing to say that you can't foil right from the front. There's nothing stopping you doing that. It's personal opinion. It's totally and utterly up to you.
Okay.
But for me, with Emma Jane's hair, I want it to be soft. I want it to almost complement her hair.
And Scott, with as I said, for those of you that have missed it, Blacklight is a pre-lightener like a bleach. It is brand new and it has been launched on the 1st of March. So you're the first people to see it. At the end of this session as well, we've got a slide that comes up that you can pre-order your Blacklight. So it's great. So anyone that's here today can get it before anyone else, which is amazing. So we can use Milkshake have their own safe lightener complex as well, and ours is called a lightning complex. There's lots of them out on the market, and from Olaplexes, Interluxes, and all these other amazing products that are out there on the market. Milkshake do have their own safe lightening complex. They come in a sachet. You put it in the bowl, you break it down slightly with your brush, because it can go slightly gluey, but you break it down with your brush and then you apply your product in the bowl. But you haven't used it today, Scott?
No, the thing with Safe Lightener Complex, because I find the Milkshake lightness so kind on the hair, I tend to only use Safe Lightener if I'm going in with a big lightening job. Somebody platinum, somebody that I know really needs that extra level. You know, the key ingredients within the Decologic range within Milkshake, it's so soft on the hair, leaves the hair feeling so soft, and it's so conditioning. I mean, we've got that, you know, added ingredients within the Decologic range.
I've just launched a poll, Scott, okay? Because
oh yeah, no worries.
Okay, so I mean, you can carry on, but if everyone wants to just fill in here, that'd be great. Thank you. And then I'm just going to see what everyone's favorite product is as well in the Decologic family so far, Scott. And then I can just sort of tell you what the results are. And then if you want to give us your views on it as well, that's great.
Yeah, that's fine. Well, what I'm going to do, I'm going to put this last tiny light in.
Yeah, you carry on, yeah. And
that's my sandwiches done in that hairline, in that money piece. Now, obviously, guys, this is like what I'm saying today is this is the way that I like to do it. It's the way that works for me. It's the way that I find gives me a really, really, really soft, subtle result without having to root smudge after. There's too many people out there that are putting a lot of foils in that front area and then blurring out any lines with a root smudge. And yes, I will saturate that front section with a lot of foils and use a root smudge if that's what the client is looking for. But I much prefer to go softer and more subtle, because a root smudge, you know, a semi-permanent color, a root smudge, it is gonna fade off. It is gonna settle off, and I want to know that my technique under that is as perfect as it can be. If that makes sense, Jose?
Yes, yeah.
I'm just a firm believer in you've got to create that perfect canvas, whether it's platinum, whether it's red, whether it's copper, whether it's gold, whether it's a soft blonde, a subtle blonde. Once I've then done my front section and it's all in line, so what I've done underneath, I've done my sandwich. So I've done tiny light, chunky weave, micro slice, tiny light, and I've done exactly the same in the money piece, in that face frame right in the front. But I've added another 4 this side, just so it's all in line. It's all super in line. I'll pop this off just so you can see it. So if I bring this over, you can then see how simple that is into Emma Jane's hairline. Now this excess hair that's left out, that I've weaved out at the bottom, I want that to pop. I want brightness here, but I don't, the reason why I tend to weave and micro slice and chunky weave is because I still want depth throughout this face frame. I still want depth throughout this money piece, because without that depth, the blonde is not going to pop. And I don't want to overload the hair. I still want dimension. I like a multi-tonal colour. So I've left out all of this hair in between, but I don't want to forget these pieces through the ends. So I'm going to do a tip out. So I'm going to separate these two pieces of hair. So this side where I've got my face frame right in the middle, I've got this piece of hair. And then this side down here, I've got the hair that's left out here. Can everyone see that? I'll just lower down slightly for a second, just so you can see. I've got this hair that's left out of these foils, and this hair this side. What I'm going to do, I'm going to pinch this on the very end. I'm going to pull it out so it's all onto the face. Put your head up. Pull it all out, pinching right at the very end, and I'm going to do one tease. Just that one. You might need to ever so slightly just do the top layer, but just make sure you've got that one tease. I don't want to over tease that section. I literally just want the one. And what I always say to everyone is start right the way down in the tip and just do that one tease. Once you've done it, then you can go in a little bit higher and just make sure it's nice and tight. Now I've got that remaining hair that's left out, and I'm literally going to pop my piece of foil underneath, really nice and subtle, and then I'm going to use, wherever he is, and then I'm going to use my paster. Again, only the tip of the paster, and I'm going to use like the flat side of the paster, and I'm literally going to tip it out. Very soft, very subtle, but I'm going to make sure that it's saturated.
Scott, what foils do you tend to use? A couple of people have asked on your foils, so are they anything in particular?
Yeah, so I've used the same foil now for probably around about 5 years. It was the first company to ever make a grip foil. Before all of the other companies on the market brought out a grip foil. This is a foil called Hair Grip, and it's a textured foil, but it's very strong. It's very, very, very strong. It's like you can't, it's hard to rip. You've got the ripping mechanism on there, but it's very, very durable, and it's got like little bumps in it, little knots. It's very textured. When you feel it, it's very textured, so it gives you a really good grip.
And it's slightly wider than normal foil?
Yes, yeah. The width on this foil that I'm actually using here is 75 centimeters, and I've been using this foil more, maybe 6 years. I would say, possibly about 6 years. So I use it for everything. Standard foiling, face framing, baby lights, chunky weave, micro slice. I love it. Once that colour's on there, you get that real stick. And I get it from Gilmore Hair and Beauty in Wales. But I'm sure lots of the wholesalers will be able to get their hands on it. But it's a product called Hair Grip. Tilting this way a minute, John. So again, I'm going to bring all of this hair forward. That's in the face frame, start right at the very end, and I'm going to just take that one tease. I don't want any more than that one tease. There's no need for any more. than that because I'm going to push too much hair out of the way. And then it's going to be harder to get that tease out later. This is such a lovely brush to use. And I'm going to ever so slightly dust that. Because I still, even though I've teased it, I still want it to be super soft. And I've saturated it. And I'm very much the type of person that I use low and slow developer. And if I had a lot of hair and I had a lot of hair to work with a client, then I would possibly even go even lower than 10 vol. I mean, my most popular developer is 10 volt, but I have started using a lightener with the light activating emulsion and the normal activating emulsion from the smoothies. Because I'd rather do that so that the one section is very, very, very low developer. And then when I move over to the next section, the last section, I'd rather go up a developer for it to speed up. But it's massively debatable. I always check my foils throughout, always check my process. And if at any point there's a section that I feel is perfect and it's lifted, then I'm not afraid to remove that. Take that off, use the milkshake leave-in conditioner spray, take it off as much as I can so that it's done. I've even, like if I'm doing a full head baby light, so a full head of dimension, and I'm starting right in the back, then I'm not afraid to take that back section off before I start the front. So I've done that front section and I've almost got like a little triangle left here, which I'm going to leave there for a second. And I'm going to go into the back. So when I go into the back of that hairline, again, I want this to connect into my face frame. I want all this brightness to come from underneath. I want it to shape the face. I want it to frame it. So I'm going to take this section again, really soft. And as I said earlier, if I've got a client that has super blonde hair, really, really, really light, I will, for anybody that missed it in the very beginning, I almost draw a little weave onto that hairline. And this section, I would literally pop my foil in and up he goes. And then I'm almost foiling right onto her hairline. But as I said earlier, Emma Jane has virgin hair and I don't want to overload her hair with colour. So I'm going to take a slightly deeper section so that there's almost like a fine, really super fine section underneath that weave. Because then that's going to give me that little bit of protection, really, really, really super tiny, tiny, tiny light on that hairline. Now I know that's going to give me loads of brightness, but I know I've got that soft little bit of hair that's going to ever so slightly give me a soft grow out. Okay, and in goes my foil. If anybody's got any questions, then don't be afraid to ask.
I'm just going to share the results, Scott, of the first polls. So, or I did two. So just so you know, for you, Scott, what is the main ingredient in blacklight? Integrity 41, milk protein, charcoal or strawberries. So 94%, I'm going to share the results actually, so everybody can see. So yeah, 94% charcoal. So yeah, that's correct. And then what's your favorite product in the Decologic? So 137% of you were 9 levels. And then the next one was blue lightning powder. I know you like 9 level, don't you? And blue lightning powder.
Yeah, blue lightning is my go-to. Level 9 is more my colour correction, extremely dark clients, clients that need a lot of lift. But I always like to explain to everybody that I see a lot of people talking about level 9 and the blue lightener, and I see a lot of people saying that they prefer maybe the blue to level 9 because it's quicker, it's going to give you more lift. And as I said in our blonde course last week and our lightning course, the blue will give you a quicker result, but once it gets to a certain level, it's then going to start to slow down a lot quicker with its lifting process than level 9. Level 9 is going to keep its strength and its power for longer to give you more lift. Because if you're taking somebody from really dark to really light, you need that product to have a longer lifespan so it can get you there. Whereas your standard blue will get you so far and then start to lose its strength. So I tend to use the blue for my general foiling, general highlighting, baby lighting technique, general multi-tonal work. And then level 9, if I've got that client that's darker and I know I need that little bit more lift. And I have in the past started with my, say, level 9 and then finished with my blue, just because I know it's a little bit quicker. If I feel that I need that little bit more time, because I use a low developer.
Yeah.
So when I come out to the back, I've done that first tiny light. Now what I tend to do is I almost work in like a pizza segment. So I keep it nice and tight here, but I'm working out slightly bigger down here. So probably ½ an inch each time. So what I'm then doing is I'm pivoting around that section so that I'm going to take him in line. So what I almost want to create is like a little eye shape here on the top. So a real eye shape. So I'm going to go from that point and I'm going to go out. So I've got more hair here and less here, but that's how I pivot around. And that's going to give me lots of pops of brightness in the back. So again, I've done my tiny light. I'm now going to go into more of a chunky textured weave. And there's nothing stopping you combining those two techniques in one foil. There's nothing stopping you picking up that section, starting with a real tiny light, and then going deeper into that back section. So you've got even more brightness. So you've got softness here and even more pop down the bottom. Totally and utterly up to you. I'm actually going to do that. I actually quite like that. There's a lot of times I'll, when I come up to, if I've got clients who've got a really fine hairline, I'll start with a really fine weave and then get chunkier. So I've got more depth, more brightness here and more subtle at the start. Again, in goes that foil, pull those corners out, tilt your head that way. Really saturate just before. Now, a lot of people like to fold the foil backwards over it, but I like to fold forward just because it always gives me that guide. I know right the way throughout, I'm saturating through that section and then dusting backwards. Flip him over. I always like to fold that bottom piece over because then I know I don't get any colour onto the end of my tail comb. There's nothing worse than when you fold that foil over and you've got that bit of colour on the end of your tail comb. So again, tiny light micro slice, keeping it tight here, but then taking it like a pizza slice. So I'm going bigger towards the back. What I almost want to do, I like to pivot it around so I'm almost directly in line when I finish. So I'm going to start again, I'm going to do that again. Micro slice, ever so slightly fine here. And then I'm going to slightly go a little bit deeper in the back. And I can feel that I've got more density here, this end, than I have this end, but it's still see-through. I can still see my hand through that section of hair. So again, pop him in. Fold him into the corners. And again, apply nice and saturated through that section. And then, because this section is getting slightly bigger and I've got more hair, I'm going to use the paster to apply, because then I know I've got that full saturation. And it's such a nice brush to use. There are similar brushes to this on the market, but I love how thin this brush is. And I'm going to dust backwards just to break up that blend. So it's really soft, really supple. Fold him over he goes. And obviously this today, guys, like I say to everyone, this is inspiration. It's up to you guys to personalize this. You can put your personal spark on it. You can place the foils in however you feel visually. You can fold the foil in the opposite direction. You can use mesh. You can use the films that go in between. You literally personalize it to suit you. So I'm pivoting him around. And I'm going to finish again. I'm going to do really, really, really tiny light. And then I'm going to go chunkier around the back. So as you can see, I've got, if I hold my hand underneath it, really, really, really fine this side. And I've gradually got thicker to the left-hand side. And it's in the same foil, it's all going in the same, but you've almost tweaked your technique so that I know I've got that finer hair here going into that very last foil in her face frame. So it's all in line. Again, I'm going to pick him up. I like everything to blend. Just and then I'm going to use my painter to saturate. It's so lovely. I just don't think anybody's going to have a problem anymore with saturation, with colour application using this brush. It's so nice. It's so light as well. It's really, really, really comfy.
But just so you know, there are actually 4 brushes. It's just we only have the 2 at the moment. So right at the end of this, I am just going to show a slide, like I said earlier on, for anyone who wants to pre-order their blacklight in. You will see images of the 4 brushes. At the moment, we only have the 2, okay?
Well, I did want everyone to get an extra surprise.
Sorry.
I don't want to tell everybody everything. So guys, before I move on, I've got those 4 foils in that bottom section. And again, I'm going to bring this forward. There's a lot of hair here. So I'm going to actually separate it into 2. So I'm going to clip him out the way a second. So this bottom section here, I'm going to bring him round so he's onto the face. Pinch him at the bottom. 1 tease. Sometimes I go from underneath as well as over the top. So I've got that section really fine. And I tend to find, like with Emma Jane's hair, obviously, because we've blow dried it, it's super, super, super clean. But I've got that bit of hair at the bottom, but I don't go in and back comb. I find it's quite hard then to get it out later, and it's not the most comfortable for the client. So there's that one, and I just make sure that it's nice and teased at the top. Pop my foil in, and again, super gentle on my tip out.
So just to confirm, Scott, with blacklight, you can use it in foils, you can use it in meshes, wraps, stripes, whatever you want to use.
Yeah.
You can use it. We don't say apply to the scalp, we say apply to the roots. So yes, if you want that full coverage of blondes, you can apply it to the roots, but not to the scalp. If that makes any sense?
I think as a brand, we've got to take into consideration client comfort as well. And I always say to everyone, when I go into a salon and I deliver education, I always say to everyone, I'm here to help you and guide you, but it is your salon. It is your salon. It's you've got to follow your own sort of guide as well.
Yeah.
Take that section down.
So again, Scott, are you nearly done on that side? I know you've obviously done.
Yeah, once I've done this hairline, I scatter a few in that section, I'm done.
Okay, so I'm just going to launch another poll, if that's okay.
Yeah, fab.
Thank you. So if everyone wouldn't mind just sort of filling that in, that'd be great. Thank you. And Scott, so the bit that you're doing now, just where you're teasing that last section, you're not obviously going right up to the regrowth or anything like that. So this is literally just to soften those ends. You tell me.
It's literally, as I said earlier, with the hairline, I want to create lots of brightness through those ends, but I still want to keep a lot of depth throughout so that I've got dimension.
Okay.
So that's why I tend to take bigger sections throughout and finer, chunky weaves, micro slicing, lots of little bits throughout. And even though it looks like there's a lot of hair, it is still subtle. You can add as much product as you like. You can add as much lightener as you like. You can be as daring as you want. But with Emma Jane, as I've said a few times, it is virgin hair, and I don't want it to be super high maintenance. I want it to be more lived in, more dimensional, and I want to follow the trends. I want to do, I want to follow the trends. I want to dimension, brightness, face framing. You've got to have that contrast with that hair in between the lighter pieces, or it's just going to look one bright colour. Yeah.
Okay.
So once I've done that section, as you can see, all of those pieces then, they're all in line with each other. So I know I've got all of that. I've tipped out twice, tipped out twice round the front, and I've sandwiched my packets together right the way. So now I've got this top section. It is totally and utterly up to you how far up you want to work. I like a little bit of brightness through the top. But if I had a client that wanted something a lot more softer, I'd probably leave, say, 1/4 inch off that parting out. I probably wouldn't take these right the way up to that, because then you've got that little fine 1/4 inch of hair that's going to then sit over the top and be really soft. But when I come to this section, that's going to give me all that brightness underneath coming around and onto the face. That's going to give me all of that. Now I'm going to start working up to the parting, and I'm going to go connecting my face frame into the back. So I'm going to take 1/2 inch. And then I'm brickworking. So I'm filling in this section here. So I've got lots of brightness coming around. And it's really important that I want dimension behind my face frame. I don't want to foil right the way up to that face frame, or I'm going to lose that face frame. I'm going to lose that impact. So again, I've got this section, and I'm not going to weave that first piece, because again, I want to leave that element of hair for dimension. So I'm almost going to take out that piece, and I'm literally tiny light, nice and fine. In he goes. Where that inches saturate, ever so slightly, just stick to the top. And then I'm going to use my paster, because as I get deeper into that hair, there's more hair. It's much denser than the hairline area. So saturated, fold him over, so I'm not getting my tail comb with loads of colour. Pop him in, fold, fold. Then again, I'd say another 1/2 inch. So if I lift that upper section, I'd say 1/2 inch. Let me have a look at that a minute. Yeah, 1/2 inch just between there. And I'm showing everybody because men's inches are different to women's. Again, I've taken that little section out just above the face frame, because I want that piece to sit over the face frame, so that face frame pops. I want that little bit of depth above it. So again, this one now, I've done a tiny light, so this one's now going to be more of a texture. Now I can actually bring the camera and show you this, because the hair is a lot denser as we go further up. So I'll pop the foil in so you can see it, and then I'll bring it over. I'll bring the camera over so you can all see it. Press it out. And with this, I'm just going to go straight in with my paster. So before I actually soften that in, I'm going to bring the camera over so you can all see it. So if I bring this over, you can see it's quite chunky. I am going to soften that line, but I wanted to bring this over so you can all see. It's chunky, but it's fine. You can still see the foil in between the hair.
That's great.
Do you know, I just halfway through this, and I realised that I'm bringing the phone around and I'm almost trying to look to see what I'm doing. And if I just look in front of me, Emma Jane has got it on her phone. I told you all, technology is not my strength. So I'm going to use my detailer, and I'm going to ever so slightly dust that. So that I'm not painting straight. Really, really, really saturate. I've got a nice... Anyone who's had me in the salon for education will know. They paint colour on, especially when we're doing blondes and lifting and sort of grey coverage, anything that needs a lot of saturation. They'll paint a section of hair and I'll come back over and say, no, more. more product. I'd much rather, like I said earlier, develop a strength. You're much better off going low and slow. Saturation and mixing ratio. Put it this way, the way I always word it, you could have one bowl of lightener that you haven't mixed, you've over diluted, so you've used too much developer. And say, so I've got bowl A and bowl B. Bowl A has too much developer, so it's over diluted the lightening powder or the lightening cream or whatever lightener that you've chosen from the Decologic family. And you've got bowl, and that bowl A, say, has 30-40 vol in. You know, it has 30-40 vol. Bowl B, you haven't over diluted your lightener. You've weighed it, it's the correct mixing ratio, and you're using 10 vol. I can guarantee you that bottle B will definitely lift better and more even than bottle A. I can guarantee it. Bowl A has 40 vol. You've over diluted the lightener, so you've just poured it in. You haven't weighed it out. You haven't saturated the hair. And then you've got the other bowl, which is 10 vol. You haven't over diluted your lightener, so you've used the correct amount. And it's low and it's slow, and you saturate as you go out. I can guarantee you, I promise you all, you will get better lift. So I've done those two now here. And again, I want to leave out dimension. So I'm going to make sure that I've got that bit of hair here that's out to sit over the top. And again, I'm going to hold him right at the ends. And I'm going to tease him away. Just that once, just because I almost want to just soften it slightly. Just ever so slightly soften it. And again, I'm going to fan him out, pick up my foil, and then I'm going to saturate. Those ends. I love this popping off my shoulder. You can guarantee it, can't you? You do it live. I'm quite shocked, really, that my camera hasn't fallen over, or, you know, I haven't. Again, I'm saturating that hair. And then I'm using my white, the detailer, and I'm ever so slightly dusting that top layer. Fold him over once.
Are you bringing up close or anything, Scott, or can I just literally launch the last poll? Are you going up close?
No, that's fine. That's fine. You can launch the last one. Just
literally about some education going forward. So it'd be, for everyone here, it'd be great if you could fill this in. It is to help us. We obviously want to carry on improving what we're doing, and any feedback is good feedback for us. So positive or negative, we need to know just to help us move forward. So I've just literally created a poll here, Scott, just so you know. It's what would they like to see more of. So whether it's cutting, colouring, you know, online courses, if they can want to join and do an actual milkshake course online, anything like that. So I've literally just launched that poll. So I would appreciate it if you all could, that'd be great. Just fill in for us, please. So
just before we go on any further, if anyone can see, I've literally just taken out 1/4 of an inch in that front area, and that bit's going to give me that dimension. It's going to sit over the top of that money piece right in the front. 1/2 inch section again, right the way into the back. And obviously you can build on this, you know, when the client comes in every single time, you can build on this.
So Emma-Jane, obviously you must be very excited right now.
Yeah, I've been begging Scott to colour my hair since I met him. He was like, no.
It was yesterday, so I did the left-hand side of her hair yesterday. We washed it out, blow dried it, and she must have spent about 15 minutes in the bathroom flicking this one side, going,
Yeah.
I look so boring this side, and I'm blonde. I'm blonde. Like, oh, why haven't I ever had colour before? And then this morning she woke up and went, I want more. I want more. And I thought, no. So again, I've done a micro slice here, saturating, really subtle into that. And as you can see by those micro slices, I'm going to bring this over again. Even the micro slice is super fine. It's super fine. You can see that hair through that foil. And for anyone that was doing the poll, I've left out a section of hair just above the money piece in the front, because that's what's going to give me that dimension. I'm going to lift him up.
Great, thank you, Scott.
And I'm going to saturate him. Anybody got any questions or anything they want to ask? Anything you want to ask about the Decalogic range? Is there a product from the Decalogic range that you haven't tried yet, and you want an idea or ways of how can I use it? I
think most questions have been answered by Alex. Sorry, Scott, by Alex. As we've been going along, he has answered most questions. So I believe, but yeah.
Nice. I had a salon that messaged me after our blonde course the other day, and they asked if, you know, they wanted me to give them a few examples of where they can use light and colour.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And I gave them an example of using light and colour to, I love the gold, for instance, the gold from light and colour. It's perfect. You don't ever get to that blonde. You always get that caramel soft gold. Yeah. And if you've got a brunette client that wants a little bit of, a little bit more tone, for instance, and they want to break it up a little bit and add a bit more dimension, the gold from light and colour is gorgeous. Now, when I get to this top section, this section here, as I'm getting to the top, I do want to see a bit more depth. So I'm going to pinch this section again, and I'm going to back comb. And then I'm going to weave, because I want it to get more subtle as we get to the top. So I'm going to weave that top section. Pop my foil in. And again, I'm going to saturate. I'm going to saturate first and then use my detailer. I mean, there's no, you know, you do it to your comfort. We've all got our own favourite way. If you'd rather dust that area first, I'm actually going to use the painter. And I'm just going to dust him backwards.
And Scott, just a question here. Someone has said, where is it? Does the technique work well on all types of layered hair?
Yes, yeah. As long as you, okay. I always say to everyone, the tip out is very important, because if you've got layers throughout, it's important that you tip out, because then you will catch all of those ends. Whereas if you've got a lot of layers and a lot of texture and you're only doing the foliage throughout, it's going to look more broken up. It's going to look more broken up rather than dimensional with brightness.
Okay.
So that's that piece there. And I am going to take this right up to the parting. So tilt your head this way a minute. So when I'm on that parting, I want to leave out a little gap here because that's my dimension, which I've done there. And I'm literally going to take the finest little weave on top because I want this to look like natural highlights on top. Now, you don't have to do this. This is not something that you have to do. I just personally like to add that little bit of like a sun-kissed look on top of that parting. That's my personal opinion. But if I had a client that wanted it super low maintenance, mainly wanted to focus on the money piece. But what I do with that top part, I'll saturate first. And then I will literally use my detailer and I'll very unevenly place on each individual piece. The more of a perfectionist you are throughout the lightning phase, the better the result you're going to get.
And Scott, with the black light itself, it stays black as well whilst it's lifting. And for you to check a foil, are you going to show how to check a foil, or shall I just explain?
Yeah, you can explain, yeah.
Yeah, so because the product stays black, it's not going to change. You will just need to open your foil up and just have a look. I would say between 45 minutes, anything from, you know, really from 30 minutes up to an hour, you know, you're going to get that perfect lift. So remember the ingredients within the black light. You've got silk proteins, you've got your cranberry extract, you've got your avocado oil. All of those ingredients are still going to be very, very conditioning on the hair. Again, remember, as Scott has said, if you're going low and slow, then you're fine. And with this, Scott, because you've used the 10 volt, would you still rinse the whole lot off altogether at the end because of condition, or would you start taking foils out?
It's very much visual.
Yeah.
Very, very, very visual. So I would, obviously, if I'm in the salon and I'm not explaining and I'm not taking it slowly so people can take notes, my application yesterday on that side was super quick.
Yeah.
Super, super quick. Like literally 30 minutes, if that.
Yeah.
It was super, super, super quick. So this section now under the top, I just think that when it comes to removal of lightener, I'm very visual. I'm very, very, very visual. I always open those first few, and if I'm happy and I want them off, off they will come. I'll use I've got a colour towel, and I'll remove that lightener, and I'll use the milkshake leave-in spray, and I'll use the milkshake leave-in conditioner spray, and I'll remove them with that.
Yeah. That's
fine. If I'm doing a full head baby lights, I might clip all the front section out of the way and take the whole back section off in the basin.
Yeah, yeah.
It's very, very visual. I find it really hard when people say, when you watch a lot of education and they give you a set deadline to take things off, it's so visual.
Absolutely. I totally agree.
This section now is my last one. And I've back combed, and again, I'm going to weave. And the reason I'm doing that and not putting it all in is because underneath I want it to pop. But on the top, I want the dimension. I want that, you know, I want to see natural hair in between. I don't want to take too much hair into that, you know? Saturate. Lush. So what I've basically done now, this morning we just gave it a bouncy blowout, and I literally just combed it up into almost like a little set. I put a few little silver clips into it, just because I wanted to add that little bit into it. I wanted it sort of kept out the way. Each section that I've taken out, I've used the Milkshake dry shampoo. So I've used the Milkshake dry shampoo.
Sorry, Scott, sorry. A few people are just saying the link doesn't work. It does work. You have to literally click on it and then it will reload another page. So I have just tried it myself, so it does work. But yes, sorry, Scott. So what is it you're doing now?
So this morning, I just gave it a quick blow dry.
Yeah.
I literally, after taking the brush out, wrapped it with my fingers, and I literally just used the little clips.
Yeah.
Just to hold that in place, just so that it was all out of the way so I could carry on with my colour and my technique. And now I have literally taken those out, and each section that I've taken out, I've used the Milkshake dry shampoo.
Okay.
And I literally just use that in at the roots because it gives me a bit of texture. It gives me a little bit of texture, a little bit of matte, a little bit so when I put my fingers in there, it's got that texture. And then I've literally pulled out these pieces and I've literally just pulled them apart so that we've got lots of brightness.
I'm on Zoom, so go away.
And then a little bit just to finish off my absolute favourite, little bit of Milkshake Lifestyle Shine Spray. And then I'm going to, hopefully this camera, if I just pop this up right here in a second, I stand you up.
Sorry, Scott, again, just so you know, the link does work. I've seen a few people have already done it, so it does work. As Julie says, just be patient. It will work, I can assure you. So yeah, people are saying they've done theirs, so that's great. So if you now want to go back to Scott, you will need to just click on the photo and then you will see Scott if you now can't see Scott. But yeah, is this going to be a ta-da moment?
What's that?
Is this now going to be a ta-da moment?
Yeah, so literally, if I turn you around this side,
oh wow! See why you're excited, Emma Jane.
Oh, yeah.
But this was no toning, absolutely no toning whatsoever. Lots and lots of dimension. Loads and loads of tones. And then you've got that really nice, where we've tipped it out through the ends, you've got that lovely little bit of brightness. And this was no toner.
It's amazing. Looks great.
Can you see that?
Yeah.
I'm just going to lift this up a bit.
Perhaps bring Emma Jane over to the white wall a bit more, Scott, towards you, perhaps.
Yeah, I might take Emma Jane back and take this back.
Can you see from there as well? Yeah. Looks
Is that better?
Yeah, looks great.
So we've got lots of brightness. All forward, we've got those pops. And then where that hairline is so subtle, like if I hold this back, it's such a soft blend.
Yeah.
It's so pretty. I think it just complements her natural hair.
And how did you, so when you used that with 10 volt and then you left it on for how long yesterday?
Because I would say it was half an hour. So once we're done today, I pretty much know that I'm going to take Emma Jane up and take these foils out.
Okay, perfect. And then you would do your normal process. You use deep cleanse shampoo, and then you go on with your color specifics. Is that correct?
Yeah, so I'm going to remove it all with deep cleanse to make sure all of the lightener is fully out. I'm going to remove it all out with deep cleanse. And then once I've removed it out with deep cleanse, I'm going to use my color specific shampoo and conditioner, and then a little bit of whipped cream and incredible oil, because they're my favourites.
And Scott, you will at the end put some images up on social anyway, won't you? You'll put it on your Instagram page, which is Scott Milkshake Hair.
Yeah, over on Scott Milkshake Hair. I'll take it all out later. I'll take a couple of angled shots. I'm sure Emma Jane's not going to mind posing now. She's a blondie.
So yeah. So just so you all know, Scott's Instagram is Josie. No, that's me. I'm Josie Milkshake Educator, and Scott is Scott Milkshake Hair. So he will be posting this on his Instagram later on, and you'll be able to see all of his pictures as well, as once it's all been rinsed off. But it looks amazing. Well done, Scott. Looks really, really good. If there are any other courses that any of you want to do, please follow us again, like on social media, speak to your local distributor, and all of our other courses. So people have asked about how do they get any information on Scott's sort of Bally That Babe course as such. All of our courses, we have loads of courses. We have our other ambassadors, which is Andrew Smith, Dave Baker and Shelley Lane. So we also have other courses as well. At the moment, obviously, we are on lockdown. So as soon as we can go back to any sort of normality, then you will get to see all of the courses that we can do. So they will be, we will be holding courses in premises for you to attend. But again, just sort of hopefully we'll be able to do some more online stuff as well. So just keep following us. Any questions at all on anything of our education, you can email the education@red-hotproducts.com and we can help you out. Again, message us on social media as well. So I'm Josie Milkshake Educator. I can help you out with any of your courses, and Scott's Scott Milkshake Hair. Amazing, Scott. Thank you.